Welcome to Serves You Right. This is Andrew, and I'm glad you can make it. If you are a server, a bartender, back-of-house warrior, this is the spot for you. Follow me as we try to work out and solve one fundamental question: whether or not you can truly be happy working in the restaurant industry. With everything involved in working in service, the alcohol, the late nights, low wages, angry guests, restaurants and bars offer a very strange blend of challenge and opportunity, let's say. They do also serve a very large and underserved population in the US. So I'm trying to answer these questions. Are they flawed and ugly in some ways? Oh yeah, but the service industry also does serve a deep and fundamental need. That drive for a fast, flexible work environment, the thrill of quick money, and, let's be honest, the appeal of the slightly dangerous for some. Again, my name's Andrew, and I've worked in restaurants for about 20 years. I've done everything from dishwashing all the way to being a general manager, and a little bit of everything in between. So this is my record of what I've learned and what's interesting to me. Follow along and see what we make of it all. Thanks for listening. Let's do it. Today we talk to Chris Campbell. Chris Campbell and I both met when we helped open Radish and Rye in Santa Fe. Chris has been working in the service industry for 20 years plus. Super great guy, one of my great friends, and someone I haven't had a chance to catch up with very much since I moved to Omaha. Today we talk about his new job, which I was super excited to hear about. He's essentially the head bartender at Susan's. Now, Susan's, when I lived in New Mexico, was a liquor store and did not have an attached bar. So, super cool to hear. I remember it was at that intersection of St. Francis and Cerrillo, super busy all the time. So, great to hear that they've got a new spot, and they were always really a fantastic place to pick anything up. We get to talk about his duties, so he's in charge of the beer program essentially, and I have talked about Lithuanian Pickle beer many times since we talked. And it was cool to catch up with him. You know, I do wonder how everyone back in Santa Fe has been doing. I left before the pandemic hit, and you just don't know how that place is going, especially it's so tourist dependent. And it was also a great throwback to remember what it was like eating seafood when you're landlocked right in the center of the country and not a huge population. And it was just a really great episode for me, and transparently this is one that I enjoyed more than most, and I did this one for me, just so you know. But Chris is a great guy, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening.
I think pre-pandemic I was basically moving between different bars, bartending. I had one gig where I was working in an Italian restaurant on Monday nights, and it was amazing money and fun, and got to drink amazing Italian wine. I was also doing private events through one of the restaurants I work at. They have a private event space, and that all just tanked overnight. And so when I went back to kind of, being a day bartender for lunch at a high-end restaurant, and basically doing that. And the private events finally came back, but they took a while. And then as that came back, it was just like, I'd been doing it for like 7 years, all in all, not counting the time off that we were closed. But it was just time to do something else. And so Susan's, which is, the packaged liquor store I work for now that has a lounge, they had moved to another spot, which was a bigger spot. So they had room to actually have a bar space. And so my girlfriend and I went in there one day, and my friend Jim, who I was already working with at, another place, had moved over there and become their wine buyer. And I met their GM, who was their spirits buyer, who moved back to New Mexico from the Bay Area. And it was just kind of this cool cohesion these two had. And they're working at a small little bar, but at the same time, it's in a liquor store. So every spirit that's available in the liquor store, you can put on the bar tab and make drinks out of behind the bar.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
the way those guys were working with, like, what I like to call the big box of crayons, where they had all the crayons, all the colors. And I never had that opportunity. I worked in places that focused on, a lot of tequila. Obviously, we worked in a bourbon centric place too. So coming from that, it was kind of like, I talked to those guys the second time I went in there and sat at their bar and had a drink. I was like, so are you guys looking for someone like one day a week? And they're like, Brian, the GM's like, whatever you want, man. And so I started working on Tuesdays, and then I would pick up Thursdays. And in the process, the pay rate was really good. The tips were awesome. And I was out by 8 o'clock every night. So it was kind of everything I was looking for at the time. I still wanted to make drinks, and I wanted to be at a bar open to the public, because I had done so many years where, it was just private events. So I didn't get to see, regular clientele. I didn't have friends come visit.
Yeah, it's more like grindstone. Like you got 5 hours of intense work and then you're done.
Oh, it's one service, like I always said. Just do one flawless service and go home,
Mm-hmm.
which is not too bad, because there were times when we were able to do, like, 3-course dinner with cocktails in an hour and a half,
Which
just,
is insane.
30 minutes setup, 30-minute close down. 2.5 hours you're home. It wasn't always that case, but that was kind of the record we had set. But no, I went over there and I started really enjoying it. And, things happened, and like one of the staff members left, so they had more shifts open. And again, I was like, I'm thinking about coming over here more often. And the phrase I heard again from the GM, Brian, was whatever you want. No one's ever said that to me in my entire career. I've been doing this for over 20 years just as a bartender, and I have restaurant experience as well that goes further back. No one ever says, what do you want? They say, this is what I need. So just kind of having that kind of, freedom was new to me. And so I thought about it, and I was starting a new relationship at the time, and she's in physical therapy. So she works Monday through Friday, basically 9 to 5. And so I was like, what if I could kind of do something that's very similar in hours, And so I came back to them. I was like, okay, how about Tuesday through Thursday? And then I'll do like a half shift on Friday, and I'll be out at 4 o'clock. And he's like, that's awesome. That's perfect. That's exactly what we need. And then in the process, they also needed a beer buyer. So I started doing that as well. And so now my schedule is Monday through Friday. Monday, I go in for 2 hours and do my beer orders. Tuesday, I work an 8-hour shift. Wednesday, I do a full open to close, which is only 10 hours. Thursday is another 8-hour shift. And then Friday, I'm there 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I'm out there.
Yeah.
And I've got the weekends off to do what I want. And it's awesome,
Do you ever feel guilty on the weekends? Do you ever have that residual Saturday night stress hit you at 7 o'clock where you're like, I should be busy right now?
It's funny because, we do a lot of business, early evening Friday. And I was actually over there this last Friday, just hanging out with my girlfriend and some friends, and they just got pummeled. And it was just kind of like, I think the best thing I can do is give them this table so they have a little more space for people to sit down. So I don't know if I feel guilty, but it's like, you always feel like maybe I should be doing this. Maybe I should be doing that. Maybe I'm not helping,
Mm-hmm.
I think that never goes away no matter how much you put in.
Sure. So you really only buy the beer pretty much one day. So you're predominantly bartender with additional responsibilities.
Right. I manage the bar basically because I'm the one that tends the bar most.
Cool. Like a head bartender.
Yeah, exactly. Like my position is beer buyer and bar manager.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Did you keep up with the Cicerone stuff after I left, or?
I never did. No.
No. How do you buy beer? Do you just go off of what you like, or?
So, I look at like I have the smallest inventory in the store.
Hmm.
So I basically have 3 coolers, and that's where I can sell my beer. So, I have limited SKUs. So that helps. I feel like, after doing it for a while, you start to see what sells. And, working in this industry long enough, you know what's going to sell and you know what's successful. But then you get good buy or good, sales reps that come in and they offer you a new product and they taste you a new product. And, that's where I'm like, is there a niche for this particular beer on my cooler? And can I sell it? And that's always the question I ask myself. It's like, it's not necessarily what do I want to drink because, I have my own palate. It's like, what would sell well through this cooler? Thinking about, everyone from the octogenarian to the new 21-year-old, they're going to come in and look at this stuff. And so it's like, I try to have like the best representation of everything for my limited SKUs.
Hmm. What are you like? What's the most exotic one you got at the moment? Just curious.
I have a Lithuanian pickle beer.
What? I could have guessed 1,000 different things. I wouldn't have gotten close.
No one's ever going to guess that one.
No. Is it?
And it's fun because, you have these adventurers and like I'm able to sell single beers that people can drink on premise in our beer garden. So it's like, they buy a single beer. I give them a frosty mug. They can sit and enjoy it. And so I think a lot of those
cool.
people get really adventurous because, they'll come in and get their first beer and then they'll like start really scanning what's weird. And like I said, anything I have that's unusual, I like to single it out. That way, you don't have to invest in a 4-pack, a 6-pack, whatever, Usually one beer for an adventurer is not going to kill him,
Yeah, yeah. You can't really die from one beer usually. Uh, do you have the ability to get like a 6-pack after that if you like it?
Oh, sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So essentially, it is like brew pub model, but with bar attached, full spirits.
Sure. That was the idea. It's like I'd been to a lot of those tap houses over the years.
That's cool.
And I always enjoyed the tap house experience. There was one in Austin years ago that on Fridays we'd go over there when we didn't have class, and our friend behind the bar would just ask us to change kegs for them because they knew we were in the industry. They'd be like, "Go change keg number, 136."
Do you get a free beer from it, or
and you get free beer? That's it.
That's cool.
Not a bad way to earn your keep with some fun beer.
Yeah. Well, you've been in the industry for a while, as long as I knew you.
Sure.
Is that what you've done your whole life?
I spent some time. It's like I went to college, got a degree.
Mm.
I have a communications major with a German minor. I had some things set up after college that fell through. But I started, basically really front of the house service industry stuff when I was 17. And I'm 47 now. So I've spent some time,
30 years
working for, a big grocery retailer and their beer and wine department. And I did 3.5 years with them. I did, almost a year with a distributor as their office manager. But everything else I've done has been pretty much, within bartending or waiting tables in the service industry.
Yeah. Well, you were always really, really good. I still remember, for the listeners, me and Chris actually helped open up Radish and Rye. So that's where we, formally met and got to know each other. And that was intense. You started as a server and then quickly joined the bar team. But you were always great. You'd always show up on time. You always knew your shit and never had to worry about you. And the only thing we had to worry about, me and you, is if we show up like a little hungover, but we still power through.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a whiskey bar. You're going to be hungover sometimes.
I still remember one service we did together on a Sunday, and I think it was like Memorial Day weekend. And Sunday, Memorial Day, we're just getting hammered, just crushed, destroyed. People coming in right and left, tons of walk-ins. We already had a full reso book.
Mm.
And you looked at me and you're like, "How you doing?" I was like, "I'm drowning." And you're like, "Me too." And we just laughed and kept going.
That does sound like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't help each other, but we could commiserate in that second, It was enough.
Yeah.
to get through the night.
Well, you have something that I really value. It's something I see in myself that I see in seasoned like well bartenders and some like real like intense guys on the line in the kitchen. That lack of freak out, like even if you're busy and even if you can say it out loud, you don't fall apart.
Yeah,
Like, you have that, like, okay, I can see the weeds, but I can see through them. Uh,
yeah.
Not something,
You find your pressure valves, and it's like
yeah.
maybe you have to go in the back real quick and just cuss it out or yell a little bit. Maybe you need to go out by the dumpster and kick a box. But
Or
everyone finds their pressure valve. But
that's
over the years,
90%
you
of the
kind of
reason
learn
I
to internalize
smoked.
it a
Yeah.
little more. You get better at internalizing it a little bit better
Yeah.
if you go
I
along in this industry.
The thing that reminds me, like the thing I always think about with Radish and Rye. So I don't even know if I ever told you this story, but I was kind of pretending to the owners for a long time, like even though it was obvious that I didn't smoke, try to smoke on like the edge times, not smell too bad. Um, it was right after we opened, and like it was an intense shift, and I wanted to go smoke. And so I was telling Quinn that I wanted to pick up my tips from Coyote because I'd worked for the open,
Sure.
and he's like, "Why do you?" I forget how he said it, but it's something along the lines of like, "Why do you need money right now? You going to buy crack? What are you doing?" And I didn't have a response because I really didn't care about getting the money. I wanted to go smoke.
Sure.
And I was just like, no, I just need my $40. I don't know.
Just makes me feel better if it's in my pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
And my
Um,
pocket's lighter one cigarette, so I feel better too.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. It's been forever since I've talked to you. What else is new in your life? Like, you got a new girlfriend, and
Yeah. I mean, the
yeah,
relationship that's going on 3 years now,
that's awesome.
we live
Yeah,
together and we're just enjoying each other and our company. And, it's kind of nice to have that person, It's like I'm 47 years old and I was like, never married, no kids, never
Mhm.
even asked a woman to marry me. And now it's like, I'm thinking different things,
Yeah, for sure.
planning a life with someone else,
Mhm.
which is
It
kind of wild.
does.
I figured I'd always be solo.
Yeah, it does kind of. I found, for good or bad, it kind of socializes you. I was looking for the right adjective there.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but if you could
Yeah.
find someone, you're with on your days off and you don't have to make any effort to be with them, it's like being by yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and it's
But
pretty cool.
better.
But better, exactly, because you're not solo. Obviously better.
Yeah. Um, what was it like working in Santa Fe during the pandemic? You kind of mentioned that earlier.
So
Pull up
yeah,
that thread. Yeah.
let's see. I mean, just to sum it up, just talking about so I was over at Coyote Cafe. I was traveling just as the pandemic was starting. Like I spent a month in Cuba
During the pandemic.
as it was starting
Oh, Jesus.
at the very beginning. I came back from Cuba early February 2020. And by March 17th, we had shuttered all the bars and restaurants in Santa Fe and New Mexico. So, this place had just been taken over by Quinn. Santa Cafe. It was, an institution for years that he bought. And then so I felt like we came in there and we opened the place, only to shutter it. And then we reopened it again, only to shutter it again. And then finally reopened a third time, basically. And it's been open since. At the same time, you start to get really good at, shuttering places,
Yeah.
which is not a skill I want to have. I always say like the two hardest things to do in the restaurant world are to open a place. That's the hardest. The second hardest is to have to shut a place. Even if it's
Especially,
temporary, it still hurts.
yeah, because it's an admission of defeat.
Yeah, you
Even
feel
though
defeated.
like we all had defeat because we were all legally not allowed to open.
Yeah,
But
seriously. There was nothing I could do legally. I had to sit around my house and collect unemployment and find ways to keep myself sane because I have a very active brain and I kind of need work.
Hmm.
It's one of those
Yeah.
things
Are there any restaurants I know that just didn't open up? Because I haven't been back since the pandemic.
that just didn't reopen.
Yeah.
There's a few.
Mm.
Like I had mentioned earlier, I worked for a restaurant group that had a place called Boosh. They had a place called Maze, Trattoria Mano.
They didn't make it, huh?
They closed the whole restaurant group.
Oh man,
Just
that's
like never even
wild.
bothered, never even bothered to like, seek some kind of subsidies for the employees or, try to get it through. They just flat out shuttered everything and never reopened.
Well, restaurant industry is so hard that you have so much capital locked up in essentially perishable goods that have like a week-long expiration date,
Yeah.
and you shut it down for a month, 2 months, it's like game over.
That can be, detrimental to a place that's, basically operating like, almost like people operate paycheck to paycheck.
Mm.
I mean, there's a lot of restaurants that operate quarter to quarter, and sometimes day to day.
Yes. It's literally nickel, dime, and quarter, quarter to
Yeah. Yeah.
quarter. Wow, yeah. Right when I moved to Santa Fe, there was a bar that got dinged and shut down for not paying their taxes. And that's like your last ditch borrowing from the IRS to pay your staff. Like,
Sure.
it's a game you can't play forever.
And I've seen it over the years in multiple places. Being in Santa Fe, I'm here 21 years as of Valentine's Day this last year.
Mm.
So I'm now 21 years in Santa Fe. It's the longest place I've ever lived, longest place I've ever worked in this industry. But like, you just watch them come and go. And sometimes it's unexpected, and sometimes it's like, well, I'm not shocked.
Yeah.
You know,
That weird place on the corner that never had anyone in it.
exactly.
Nah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
not shocked. But some of these other places seem to be doing really well and generating money. It's like you don't realize like how much of that money is to perishable products that literally you have a week to use, sometimes less.
Do
Being in a
you feel like,
landlocked
oh, sorry.
being a landlocked place, it's like how does anyone even get fish here? It's been frozen 3 times and it's touched at least 4 different hands, and each hand means the price goes up.
Well, that's why every fish supplier in New Mexico is named something like absolutely fresh or above seawater.
It's the best.
Just the best. It's like,
We
okay,
promise. We promise it's good.
if you have to name your restaurant absolutely fresh food, like yeah, it's worrisome at least. Um, I was going to ask you, Santa Fe being landlocked, being in the, I always thought, I love Santa Fe, but it's kind of weird. It's different than everywhere that I've lived.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, what is that?
I think this place is like it's an ancient place with ancient culture, and
Mhm.
I think I've always said about Santa Fe that there are people that move here, and it's always those first 3 years that determine if you're going to stay here at all,
Mhm.
and whether that's a fourth year or someone like me who's been here 2 decades. It's like the first 3 years make or break you, and it's like if you can move here and take all your preconceptions and just toss them, forget about them, because this place is not going to run like any place you've ever lived. And you see people that come here from bigger markets that have worked in amazing places, you know, mostly from each coast, but they come in, they're like, no, I'm going
That
to
that
change this.
California,
Yeah,
like, I know what you're talking.
it's
Yeah.
kind of the East Coast West Coast mentality that comes through here, where it's like, no, I can fix this place. It's like, never look to fix Santa Fe. Look to become a little more broken, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
And
It
you have to surrender.
it is the land of manana.
It's the land of next week, for sure.
Yeah. Do you remember Natalie Bovis?
Yeah, of course. I saw her a couple days ago.
Oh yeah.
She's
So
gearing up for her event.
I know. Yeah,
So she
she's
gets
one that
her.
I oh sorry, you go.
She gets. We help bring in some things for her event so they can happen. Like we have
Oh,
we have a
Susan's.
we have a liquor license that we rent for events. So
Oh, so she kind of works with you guys, huh?
we get to see her around this time of year every year.
Oh, that's super cool. I wondered. Um, I worked, just for those of you listening, I actually worked for a little while as Natalie's assistant. And part of that was signing some NDAs and I can never remember what I can say, so I just say very little. But I remember when that festival started, we used a different liquor license and that fell through. And then I stopped working for her. And so I'd always wondered what she was doing to go around that. So that's
Yeah.
super cool. Um, that's why anytime I talk about her, I'm always like, well, I think I can say this. And
Yeah. That's the problem with
yes,
those NDAs.
I know, I
That's not
know. And
good.
it wasn't even like that, probably legally binding of one, but it's one where like I really love Natalie. I wouldn't want to like blow up her spot or do anything crazy.
Ever. She's great.
But she is one that, you know, straight from California, actually came out to New Mexico, went back to Cali, then came back. And she's her own person, entrepreneur, runs her own business.
Oh, truly.
But the stopgaps that she did, she worked some shifts as bartenders, she worked some shifts and people had offered her management positions.
Right.
And she was always, I think it's good she was an entrepreneur because I don't think she was ever going to work for anyone
No.
unless it was someone in like California or, a bigger market that things were structured a little bit more.
No, it's funny speaking about her because this last week she came in and we were just kind of trying to remember when we first met. And we
Oh,
realized
you and her.
it was 15 years ago when she was bartending with another friend of mine at a place that she worked temporarily.
Mm.
And now
Probably the
now she's got,
compound, I'm
no,
guessing. Yeah.
it was like, where was she? She was at the Anasazi when I first met her.
Oh, with James, right?
Yeah, with James
Yeah, she
Reese.
did do that for a
Johnny
little
was over
while.
there. So yeah.
Yeah.
But so you get a kick out of this. She just released a new book that has nothing to do with our industry. It's about cat gods.
Oh, oh, yeah. Just so you know, Chris, she's coming on before you, the week before.
Oh, nice.
So,
Well,
yeah, I got to
I don't
reconnect
need to
with
promo her
her.
stuff then.
Oh, no, no, no. You should because I
I'd love
think
to.
when
I think she's
you
awesome.
come out, I think it's right around the time the book launch party is
Oh, cool.
coming out. Yeah. So,
Now I'm
me and
always
her,
happy to see her hustle because I admire it. You know,
yeah, I mean, someone who's
there are a
trying
few
to do
people around here that are
something.
just great models of just like how to hustle. You know, we've gotten to work with a lot of them, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Um, no, that's really cool. Yeah, who knew? The world is smaller than you think.
Yeah, truly.
Did you get one of Natalie's cat books?
I have not yet. I
That's
will.
okay.
I will. I get an autographed cat book for sure.
I think that I have one in the mail. We
Well,
she so with her next cat book, she's got cat playing cards essentially. They're like tarot cards, but
right,
more
she was showing me.
oracle cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we drew Artemis in our conversation. I was very excited.
Awesome.
Um,
Oh, that's great.
I was going to ask you one of the things I'd written down. Yeah, how do because I've known a lot of people who've worked restaurant industry and then have dropped out over the last 20 years I've worked it and gotten a non-industry job. How do you think you've survived for so long? Like what gave you longevity?
I think you go through a lot of pitfalls. You know, like you kind of learn when you're young. It's like, you know, maybe that's not the kind of place I want to work at anymore. I mean, I worked at two places that I affectionately call margarita factories, and that's what they were. And the money was so good that, like, you get your ass kicked and you make 1,000 margaritas in a night, but you're walking with cash every night. The golden handcuffs are there.
Hmm.
So I think some of the longest places I've worked is because I believed in the work we were doing and the money was good. And so you get this kind of idealistic viewpoint of it. We're not doing anything to save lives. We're not a religion. We're not a cult. We're just kind of, like I like to call the people I work with now. Actually, one of the guys I work with, Dan George, came up with this term. He's like, we're all super intelligent underachievers. And I think there's a lot
Super
of us.
intelligent underachievers.
Yeah. So that's
Mhm.
a term Dan George made up, and I got to give him credit for it. But it really puts into perspective. It's like, we have a lot of knowledge. We've been in this industry a long time learning. And, you get to apply that stuff as you get older. And so I think, you just you kind of spot the red flags and you avoid those places. You know,
Mhm.
you see places that have little turnover and the people working there seem happy. You're like, I want to go work with a place like that. You know, versus the
Okay.
places where, you know, I've got to meet a new bartender this month because the people I know are gone. We'll see what next month looks like.
Yeah.
But I
Do you
think, you
think
know,
it's
seeing consistency has made me realize that it's possible.
yeah? Do you think it's just that you're picking well? Because I can't think it is only that. You gotta. I mean,
I think it
maybe it
helps.
is simpler. Yeah.
You know, I don't think that's everything. I think, you know,
Yeah.
it's a matter of I still feel like I'm doing something that's relevant and exciting to me too. You know,
Hmm.
because I mean, if I had a job where every single day was the same, I wouldn't last 2 weeks. If every day was so structured and the same that it was like Groundhog's Day, like that's my nightmare.
Yeah. You
Like,
you value the excitement and
oh sure, like no
yeah,
2 days are ever going to be the same in our industry, no matter how you slice it.
it's true.
Just human interaction alone is always going to be different.
Mhm. And I
Much like,
guess the like events industry, like what you used to do, the catering, is that to the extreme. Like you don't even have regulars.
oh no, yeah, you're not building a
Yeah.
clientele at all. I mean, it was cool doing it for 7 years at the private the event space at Coyote because you had people that came back every year.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
cool.
how you knew you were doing something right. Because, you know, in the 7 years I was there were several groups that came back every year. And so I'm like, that's your feedback. You know, that's your confirmation that, you know, you guys are doing it to the best of your ability. But you don't see it immediately. You know,
Yeah,
you don't see that person that comes back that same week.
it's such a slow feedback loop. You don't
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
So it's kind of tough, you know. It's like looking back on it after, you know, not knowing I was going to be there that long, but I'm glad I was because it was a great opportunity. But like to really see like these groups started coming, like, you know, there's a group that started coming twice a year.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, it's
Uh,
like, you know, you need a little validation in this industry. So it's like, you know, sometimes that person that came back the next day is your instant gratification. And then like, you know, looking back on multiple years of dealing with the same group, it's like that's your long-term gratification.
that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I think even more than just that industry, you need that feedback loop because you're a human.
Sure.
I think yeah,
Yeah.
we all
I
need
think
to
every
feel like we're
human,
doing a good job. Yeah.
even the ones that pretend like they don't, you know, like everyone needs a
Maybe
pat
they're
on
the
the
ones
back
that
sometimes.
especially need it.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the ones you really need to take care of.
Mm. Oh yeah, we're looking at you, Sabri. I I I was like,
Yeah,
I had to say that at some point, but that was the one reference. We won't go there. You still live in New Mexico, so. Um, would you have changed anything? Anything you would have done differently in the last 30 years?
oh, sure. I mean, you know, you can
Yeah.
always look back. I don't have a lot of regrets, but yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of things I could have done differently. You know,
Mm. Yeah.
but
Run tell that. Yeah. No.
you know, at some point, it's like, you know, maybe I should have just gone immediately and got my master's degree.
Yeah. You never know.
But you know, I'm happy. I'm happy with where I am now. You know, what I have to show for what I've done over the years.
For sure. Awesome.
At the same time, I'm sure there's a lot of things I could have done differently. You know,
Mhm.
when you think about 30 years, that's a lot.
Yes.
I mean,
That's
there's stuff
almost
last week. There's stuff last week I could have done differently.
sure. Yeah, I was just thinking like 30 years, that's like 10,000 days.
Yeah,
That's
seriously,
that's a lot. Yeah.
that's a lot.
Well, cool. You have anything cool or exciting coming up, or what's the future look like for you?
You know, I mean, just kind of really hope that we can keep the program going I'm in now at Susan's. Like I said, you know, working with multiple bartenders who have over 20 years experience. It's like we get to dialogue and workshop cocktails together when we make a new list, and it's just fun. You know, it's like I got this idea for this, and that's how it starts. And then it's like, okay, how about that? And you know, it's like you really have people that like give you feedback in the best possible way. And then you sit there and you're like, okay, I'm never going to reinvent the wheel with cocktails, but I can find weird new ingredients that aren't in the state before. And that's usually how I start my drinks.
Yes. Lithuanian pickle beer, for
Lithuanian
instance.
pickle beer, for instance. Back to that.
That I'm not gonna lie, that is the first thing I'm looking up whenever we're done talking.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the label because
Yes, please do.
it's
Uh,
probably the most esoteric thing I have right now, and I like to pick up some weird shit for the beer coolers.
well, cool. Hey, Chris, it's been 10 years since I really got to talk to you, so I'm really glad that I got to reach out
Right,
and chat for a little bit. And
that's a nice way to catch up for sure.
yeah, I know it's a weird thing, but it's actually been fun, kind of going through and meeting people and then also recreating, the past and,
Right.
you know, listeners like me and Chris went and got lunch probably once a week for what, 3 years, I'm
Easily,
guessing. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
At
We
least if not more.
single-handedly kept the box card in business.
Yeah, but no, I was thinking because you asked me like when we first met, and the first time I met you was actually you were studying for one of your wine certifications. I can't remember which one it was, but you had studied during the day in the Matador
That's
when
right.
Andy
That's
Yeager was
right.
bartending there.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's the first time I really met you.
2012 or 13, somewhere in there, because I got this certified in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we haven't talked since then. I got into the advanced,
Oh,
and
congratulations.
I passed everything except for tasting. So the downside is it's a once a year test, and
Sure.
if you don't do it, reset to zero. So
Right.
yeah, I don't know if I'll ever do it, but
Well, I hope you
it's
keep at it, man.
it's close enough that I'm like, oh man, it would be great if I was just terrible at it, because then I could say, all right, I can't do this, I quit.
No.
But to get it at like 58% and then 60% of passing is like, okay, if I spent an extra hour a week, could I have done it? It's almost, I think, I'll have to look it up. There's something called, I think it was Regent Beta or Beta complex, where it's like when things aren't bad enough, it's almost the worst thing that can happen because it doesn't motivate you to fix it. It's like
Right.
I'm close enough that I keep studying, even though if I'd just been worse, I would have given it up by now. But
Well, no, I think those are the things that really improve us, though.
yeah,
It's like the
yeah,
victories are great, but like it's the defeats that really like make us have that existential crisis. Maybe I should be doing something else.
it is a
No, I
lot more
love this. I'm going to keep
instructive.
with it. It's
Yeah.
like I mean, there's a lot of stuff around this industry that's like an abusive love affair,
Yes.
and that's a good example right there.
hmm Yes. How much can you conquer the infinite, ever-changing world of one beverage? And we will just ask you random questions about Italy and China till you cry. Yes.
That seems about right.
Cool. Well, Chris, I hope it's okay. I'm gonna take off.
Great.
I've got lunch coming up. Me and Ann are gonna go get a bite to
Tell
eat.
N hi.
I will. I will. If you ever want to, shoot me a message, give me a call. I'm very bad at responding to things in a timely manner, but I am great at responding eventually.
Hey,
Just,
that's fine. And
um,
likewise with me, and then hopefully you guys get a chance to come back here sooner than later.
I need to. I know it's yeah. I got sucked into management working and like you know I say sucked into. I got a really good job. Like things worked out. I think me and you probably ended up better than most of the people we saw in Santa Fe, but I get 2 weeks off a year and I usually want to go to the beach. I'm sorry.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I like to go to the beach too.
I know. Well, if you ever are flying through the middle of the country for some weird reason,
You
or
never
if
know,
you're
man.
looking to stalk bright eyes,
You never know where I'm going to wind up. So
exactly.
I will definitely
Yeah.
let you know if I get close.
Awesome. Well,
And
hey,
if for some reason all of this is unusable, I totally understand.
well, it's cool. The good thing about not being marked for kids is we're pretty. It's pretty easy.
Good.
Yeah.
I tried to
Cool.
keep it tame.
Exactly. Yeah, just wait till Natalie's comes out. She actually used the phrase circle jerk. I was like, oh my
Nice.
God.
Oh, I love her.
Natalie Bovis, the woman, the legend.
I know. I tried not to listen to any of your previous ones because I didn't want to, have some kind of weird influence.
It's like, well, and then
I just wanted to go free form.
Did you ever meet Shane Alexander, the chef from Elf
Yes.
Roll?
Yes.
He's on it.
It's funny 'cause he mentioned that to Elisa, and Elisa texted me last week.
Oh,
And I
really?
met you, and she says to tell you hello.
Oh man, I need to.
But then she says that Shane keeps talking about how he was on your podcast.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
How does Shane know Elisa?
He's a Shamrock rep, right? Or something like that.
Oh, so he goes into Coyote, maybe?
So I think that's his account. It's Coyote.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
Santa Fe, man. Everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody. And it happens to be that when I essentially grew up in the industry, I'm from there. And, the thing is, for all the things that are wrong with Santa Fe, I am calling the people and talking to the people there first because there's color there, you know?
Sure.
Like the people I run into in Tulsa are like fine, but like, man, there's some personalities and some intensity in Santa Fe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
It kind of goes with the territory here. You kind of have to be.
Yeah, like you have to be kind of a larger than life, works 100 hours a week from South Africa chef. And like, cool. Yeah, bring
Just
it
to
on,
make
Shane.
history yourself in that industry.
Yeah. Man, Santa Fe is so weird. What is it? 50,000 people? Something like
It's
that?
more now. It's probably like 80.
80? Yeah, but still. I mean, that's the
not
thing.
much.
But it's 80,000 people serving millions who dream is to go and eat there and be there for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a weird one.
Well, it's kind of a wild thing when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. I need to go back. I really do. My to-do list is growing at an exponential rate, but
come see it when you can, man. And I get the lure of the beach too. I'm not mad.
Sure. Cool. All right. I'm gonna hang out. It was good talking to you, bud.
All right, brother. Take care.
Thank you for taking the time to listen today. If you enjoyed this, please leave a review, like, share. The more people that we can reach, the more people we can help, and the more people we can bring this message to, a message of hope and possibilities in the service industry. Everyone who listens, thank you. You are my people. Keep rocking on and have a great service. And please come back and listen again. We send out new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. How about that? All right, see you soon.